Good morning, everyone. Today we're learning the fourth chapter, the fourth paragraph of the Hasidic discourse written to be said in 1950, which in Judaism is 5,710 years after the world was created by the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak Schneerson. It was supposed to be said in America, in New York, where he'd been living for 10 years, changing the whole face of Judaism and thereby the whole world, to reveal the purpose of man in the world, why we're here. And he passed away on that day. And this essay, which we call in Hebrew, we call it a ma'amar. This ma'amar was considered to be his orders for the new generation. And in it he points out that although that God is everywhere and He fills everywhere and He creates everything and He has a purpose for everything, but we don't see this, and even worse, we don't feel it. And that's the job of the Jews, is to get everybody to feel that God is creating everything, to make the world into a better place with less uncertainty and less tension and less hatred and less, or let's say in a more positive way, with more happiness and more freedom and more responsibility and more meaning, more blessing. But it depends on the Jews, or in a more specific way, it depends on each and every Jew. Or even more specifically, it depends on you, or more specifically, it depends on me. Every person has to say that the world depends on me, that the world depends on me to fix it up. That all the problems in the world are me. And that making a revolution or taking things into your own hands to change the other guy is not going to change the world. Right? To be a mafia man or something and knock people off. That's not the answer to the world's problems. It's to get rid of the bad guys. The answer to the world's problems is to get rid of the bad inside of yourself. How do you do that? You have to know what the good is. What's the good? Says the Rebbe, the good is that every Jew, and to a certain degree every human being, can make themselves into a holy temple. A holy temple was a building, it wasn't just, you can't make yourself into a holy temple by just doing what you want or fasting or something. A holy temple was a building that was made according to the Torah. The Torah determines what is a holy temple and what is not a holy temple. Therefore, a person has to go according to the Torah. The Jews, the 613 commandments, and the non-Jews, the 7 commandments, because these were the only instructions ever given by God to the whole world. So here we go. It's very nice, these are all very nice philosophies, until it comes to your pocketbook. Till it comes home. When it comes to your actual home, you can talk as much as you want to about, you don't care about being in the cold or cold water. All of a sudden when the Titanic sinks and you're in cold water, and all of your theories go away. The same thing when you think about, you can just control your anger and never get angry. When somebody comes in and really makes you angry, pushes on exactly that thing that you don't like, then it's a different story. And so, that's what he's talking about. A person has to change himself. How does that person change himself? Not easy. But as they say in America, at least I heard this by Henny Youngman. You ever had Henny Youngman? A one-line comedian, very famous comedian. If you want your dreams to come true, you have to wake up. So let's see. Alright, says the Rebbe that every single Jew has a soul. And the soul, a godly soul. In addition to your natural, normal, spiritual soul, every person also has a godly soul. And this godly soul is like a rope. And the rope is like a rope that's wound from 613 strands. Lochen, first of all, let's start. First word of the line is Gidi.
We're up to Ve-Hadam.
Oh, Gideon, yes, 5, 6, 9.
Just above that.
Where is it?
Ve-Hadam.
Oh, you're above that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, good. Okay, it says, the world was created for me in order to purify the world. Very good. First word line is Nivra. Veha-Adam, and a person who is Bitziur in the form, Ramach Avorim 248 limbs, and Shesat 365 blood vessels. Gideon are blood vessels.
How many? 3
It's 365
blood vessels. That's Gidim is
blood vessels.
blood vessels.
Right? What do we care about this? This is a class in anatomy or something, in surgery? No. The Rebbe is trying to tell us a very interesting thing. Man is made in the form of the Torah. The Torah is, it says that God, the man is made in the image of God. That's what it says. Man is made in the image of God. It says that right in the beginning of the Torah. The image of God. B'Tselem Elokim Nivras Adam. Is made in the image of God. It even says about the non-Jews. That's why it says the non-Jews are not allowed to non-Jews are not allowed to do certain commandments because they're also created somewhat in the image of God. They're also created.
Like I was told that the Alter Rebbe's daughters and Rashi's daughters put on tefillin. Is that?
There were some women that put on tefillin. What's that? What has that possibly got to do with what we're talking about?
You're saying about how some non-Jews have aren't allowed to do some mitzvahs, they're not allowed to do some things that we can do, and I was just...
The only two things that non-Jews are not supposed to do is learn Torah and keep the Shabbat. They're not supposed to learn those parts of the Torah that aren't relevant to them, which that's not that much, but they're not allowed to learn the parts of the Torah that aren't relevant to them. Some people say that it includes Kabbalah and the Gemara, the Talmud, which are on laws that don't deal with them. Say the holidays and things like that.
Chumash? Chumash?
They're allowed to go to Chumash, sure. It says that Moses even translated the Chumash into 70 languages to make it relevant to the non-Jews. The laws, the non-Jews only had 7 laws. It's a whole special class for that you can make. They have 7 laws, the non-Jews, but from those 7 laws, there's all sorts of branches for those laws. And those laws are only negative commandments. There's also all the positive commandments. Also all the positive laws. Mordecai, please, the class starts at 8.
I couldn't get in, I was 20 minutes, I don't have the key. I couldn't get the towel.
Oh, your towel, I see. Okay. So, yes, but non-Jews are made in the image of God. It says there's a Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, it says, Chaviv Adam Shenivru B'Tzelem, that man is dear to God because he's made in the image of God. Where does it say man is made in the image of God? Right after Cain killed Hevel, Cain and Abel, Cain killed Hevel, God says that man shouldn't do such a thing because man was made in God's image. It's a sentence in the Torah. Man, Mordecai, move the towel. Yeah, I'm going to towel right over this person's head. There we go.
Sorry.
Okay, so man is made in the image of God. What does it mean in the image of God? The Torah has 240 positive commandments and 365 negative commandments. Similarly, man is made with 248 limbs. What these limbs are exactly, I do not know. There is a Mishnah in, I think, Oelos. It says that the bones, there's 248 bones. I don't know if that's what it is, but I've never really seen it explained clearly what are these 248 limbs, because a lot of times it says the heart is one.
Organs?
Huh?
Organs,
right. But another place it says it's bones. So I don't know. Anyway, the 365 the veins, that's limiting. That's like the negative commandments. That limits energy. You don't want to have these veins, how do you say, a vein gets a hole in it, it's very dangerous, not good. That's the limits, the 365 limitations and the 248 expressions of a person. That's the 248 positive commandments and expressive, how do you say, organs of a person's body, and 365 limiting organs of a person's body. That's again corresponding to the positive commandments and negative commandments. A human being's body is in that form, and so is his regular natural soul, and so is his godly soul. They're all in the form of 200 of these 613.
So this is kind of
248 and 365 are 613. That's the number. Why does the Rebbe care about this? Because he's going to say that each one of these different strands is a channel of vitality, of life, of reality. And if you don't do one of these commandments, it breaks this little strand. And so you become a little bit separated from God. And now who's going to do a thing like that? Who would want to cut off their own finger or stick a nail in a person's own eye? No one would do a thing like that. Who would cut off a limb, even if an ear, except for Van Gogh or something?
So if the Torah has 613 commandments,
Yes.
it's the same blueprint as the man.
It's the nail.
It's like a blueprint. It's
Yeah, like a
one-
blueprint. That's right, that's right. That's right. And that's the same blueprint, and because the Torah is Hashem's will, it's God's will, it wasn't made up by somebody. Moses didn't go up on Mount Sinai and all of a sudden get an idea. He came down with these commandments. Everybody heard. All the Jewish people knew. It's this week's Torah portion. There's no other religion that even makes a claim like that. Even makes up a story. There's in Israel. There's all these leftists. These, how do you say? The free thinkers, whatever they are. They say, well, you ask them, what do you think about the Torah? The Bible was made up. The Jews made it up. No, the Jew could be. Jews made it up. Why didn't anybody else make up a story like that? Why not? Right? If the Jews made it up, why the Arabs are not intelligent? They're very intelligent people. They want people to believe. They want people to believe. They're liars, shakranim to the bone. They're willing to lie for anything. The church, they want people. They have billions of people. They won't. Why don't they make up a story like that? They claim to be the replacement of the Jews. If they're the replacement of the Jews, so let them have a good story like the Jews. Yes, God took the Jews and He gave them a Mount Sinai, but afterwards God went to Mount Olympus and He gave
the Greeks.
right, and He gave, all of a sudden He said no, that the Mount Rome or someplace, where is this, some sort of a mountain in Italy. Anyway, He said, yes, the Jews were my chosen people, but I've given them up. Now I have relinquished the Jews, and I'm giving the Bible to you, to the heathens. You are no longer heathens, you now are chosen people. And then afterwards God takes all the Bedouins into the middle of the desert, and He says, listen, the Jews were used to be my chosen people, and afterwards I chose the church. But they didn't do what I want, now I chose you, and Muhammad's going to do. Why don't they make up a story like that? It's a great story, right? Not only that, they didn't make up it, they did make up it, and their religion succeeded better than ours. They didn't make up a story like that. We have the truth, or at least our story. At least we have it, at least we claim a story. That God spoke to the whole Jewish people.
How far did the Jews
And He
see
told the Jews, He took them all out of Egypt. And He showed them tremendous miracles. And this story has been passed on from generation to generation, non-stop. There's never been a generation that said, Daddy, you made that up. Right? Grandpa didn't say that. Grandpa didn't say that story. Right? Nah, your grandpa, he was a nut, right? He didn't know. I know. Come on, Dad. Now that there's millions of people pass the same story on. You see that the Haggadah of Pesach, thousands of years ago, when was the first year they did it? They made it up. Right? Remember, we were in Egypt, Daddy. We weren't in Egypt. Nobody told me this story. You're lying, right? I asked my teacher. She said, everybody knows we were in Egypt, and the Goyim know we were in Egypt. And we got on, we got the Torah. No, but here we have the non-Jews. Why don't the non-Jews make up a story like that, right? Why? Because they don't want God that talks to everybody. They want a God that only talks to special people. So why did their religion succeed and ours didn't? We don't know how many Jews we have. The Jews are leaving all the time. We have Jews that are against Jews. Like half of the Jews are against Jews. The Israel, the whole country stood up that there's no God, there's no anything. The whole country. Based on the idea there's no Judaism, there's no God, there's no... You don't get the Catholics like that. Why don't they? Why did their religion succeed? They have 2 billion people or something like that we live in. And we have, maybe 2 million people, 1 million, and they're all on each other's throats and everybody... Like, why was it work that way? Well, because the answer is because theirs is a lie. It's a lie. Their religions are simply lies, and it just caters to their spiritual needs. A person wants a spiritual need, and it's true. People want spiritual meaning in their life. They want to know what's their source. They want to rise, and it's very nice. So they make up a religion. Right? And most of them take it from God, from Judaism, or they don't. There's Hinduism, it's based on some experiences or whatever you have, with some sorts of strange faiths that they've got. You believe in an elephant god, and a monkey god. Good, why not? Makes the people feel good. It's I feel it. You're part of a group. Right? What do the Jews have? We have a God, you can't see him. There's no form. You can't make a picture of him. He's creating you all the time. He's creating everything. You don't even feel it. You don't know what you're talking about, right? The heroes are Abraham, Isaac. They didn't do any miracles. They didn't do any great ideas. They didn't bring to the world with tremendous speeches that they gave, or gathering the masses. What type of religion is this? What's going on, right? It says the answer is that the whole world is made in the form of Hashem, of God. 613. The whole world is made in this form. And every person has an obligation to express his uniqueness, his unique self that nobody else has. Right? And this is very, very difficult. People like to be in the crowd. They like to be and that's why there's so many people in the church. Because they want to be in the crowd. And they don't want to be individuals. Right? They want to do an idea. A guy came down, God is way up there, and I'm way down here. I'm helpless. Yes, you have a question?
How far did Jews see in Sinai?
That's your question?
Yes.
What does it got to do with this?
Because it's 613 commandments, and
Yes.
it is a blueprint. Like they could receive the Torah, so it's like levels up and up. They received the soul, which is 613 commandments. There is a Torah, which is 613 commandments, and the of God, which is
Yes.
but how far did they see the essence? Did they see above 613 of the commandments, or did it doesn't say anywhere? Did they see above time, above
I don't know
creation?
what it means above. It says that they saw face to face. They saw Hashem, who's the creator of everything.
But Hashem has different levels of his...
What level you want to know? Did they say Atzilus? Did they say Bria? What did they say? I don't know. It says that they saw the essence of Hashem. I don't know.
Did they see Ein Sof?
That's the essence of Hashem. It says that their souls went out of their bodies. They all died.
They united with Ein Sof.
Who knows?
Because of my question
It
was
says that
that
their souls went out of
613 is the limitation of the light within the body, within the soul of the person. If they...
Right, but each commandment is the essence of Hashem. So it really makes no sense. You understand? There's 613 essences of God. It's like God in the Holy Temple. What was the Holy Temple? The Holy Temple was a building. It had a place. If you went to it, had an address. It wasn't here. It wasn't there. There was one place. This was the Holy Temple was here. It wasn't here. It wasn't here. It wasn't in Chicago, and it wasn't in Ashdod, and it wasn't in Tel Aviv. It was in a certain place, on a certain mountain in Jerusalem. It had to be exactly there. If it was a different place, it wouldn't work. Nevertheless, in this exact place, that everything was very exact, that was where the essence of God was revealed.
Was there also
The same revelation as Mount Sinai. Of course, the tablets. What was in the Holy of Holies? The tablets in the Torah. That's the 613. That was the Holy of Holies.
The structure of the temple also 613.
Somehow, I don't know. Probably you have to ask people that delve into those things. I'm not one of them. But everything is in the form of 613. That's what the Rebbe says. That's one way of analyzing everything. That's one way of analyzing it. Okay, therefore, is that where we are?
Not Shehim.
Gideon.
Hey, get in.
From Rosh Zagin, Shehem, that they are B'mispar in the number Teriyah 613. Lochem, therefore, call Amadregas, all the levels. B'ishtalshluz in the chain of creation. Hem, they are B'mispar Zeh in this number.
The Hell was the Hell again?
Rope. Lochem, therefore, Hine behold. Hine behold. Gam also. Behaneshama in the soul. Hare behold. Yesh there are. Gam also. Teria Kochos 613 powers. Shebahem, that in them, Tuluyim, depend. Hateriag mitzvahs, the 613 commandments. That's the job of the Jews. The job of the Jews is to connect the world with the truth. And what is the truth? That Hashem is everywhere. Hashem is creating everything. That Hashem cares about everything. Hashem is giving life to everything. But we Jews have a job. We have to show the whole world this. This is the rope. See where you have the place, Gabriel?
Yes.
First word in line is Bechevel.
Yeah.
First word in line. And this rope, the neshama of the soul. Hare, behold, mitkasher is tied. Be'elokus to Hashem. Ukamo, and like hachevel, a rope. Shorosho, that end. Echad, one end. At one end of it. In this case, Rosho means the head, but it does, you'll see that means one head and the other head. It says
Is
one.
it the root more like short?
No. Shit, that.
Okay.
Rosho, the head.
I see.
Echad, one end of it. What's a rope? When you use a rope, what do you use a rope for? One end of the rope is attached, kashur is attached to the mila above.
Excuse me.
Varosho Hasheni, and the end two, and the second end, the other end, kashur is attached lamata below.
It's more like one head is this way and the other head.
Right. But that's how they say. Rosho echad lamayla Rosho. One end of it is on the top. One is what is a rope? A person's it wants to bring a bucket up from the first floor up to the seventh floor. So he lets a long rope down, and the people down on one end, right? They tie the bucket. The people on the other end, they lift out the bucket. We used to play a game when we were kids. You take a string. One person gets on one place of the street, one the other guy the other, and you low fun where you take the string and you tie and you put a hole into a can, a cup, or a tin can. We used to take a tin can. You tie a piece of metal around it, one end, so that it stays there, and then metal around the other end. Or if you can find a disc, that's even better. You find a washer or something, and a disc. And then when you speak on one end, as it rattles the sound waves, right? The sound rattles the string, and it comes to the other end. You hear the person. You can hear, hello, you can hear the person's voice. Incredible. It vibrates the same way that yours vibrates, it vibrates the other side. Says that's what a Jew is. A Jew is, right, and that's essentially how telephones work and everything works. How does it work? You speak in the air and it vibrates something, causes something to vibrate, and that sends it all the way, right? Maybe electricity vibrates or whatever it is, but it causes a vibration. And the same exact vibration is on the other side. So you hear the person's voice, or a record. That's the most amazing thing if you think about it. A record, a guy can speak, a person can speak, right? You have some singer can sing 100 years ago, right? And the guy's already dead. He's not there. And you play it, you listen, hear his voice like it's being haunted. Here it is on this record, the same exact voice, with all the nuances and everything. Amazing, a very amazing thing, how it happens. It says that's what it means, a man is made in God's image, that the man is like a rope. What does it mean? It's like a rope, is that we vibrate from here, on our end, we vibrate. And our vibrations, that affects Hashem. We'll see. Look, and therefore,
Great, all you days.
yeah. Kashulamat Ari, behold, all you days by means of this, by means of a rope. Nasa, there is made. Ha'is kashros, an attachment. Lios, to be. La'achadim, one. Right, you attach the floor to the 5th floor, right, the ground to the 10th floor. That's what a rope is. Same thing, every Jew's soul is like a rope. Hine, behold, kamoke, and similarly,
What does mean lechadim again? I'm sorry.
to be one, unified. Hine, behold, kamoke, and similarly, who it is, Gamken also, Bechevel, and the rope, to neshama of the soul. See where the of the soul. Sharosh echad, at one end of your soul. Kashur is attached lamayla above.
One head, right?
Huh?
One head of your soul.
One head, it means the end. One end of the soul is attached above. Namely, that's what's attached to God. And the other end of your soul is attached to yourself. Now again, we said, of course, God is everywhere. God is everywhere and He's creating everything all the time. So what does it mean one end is attached to God? What, God is up in the sky or something? What does it mean that God is up in the sky? What's it like? It's like, let's take an example. A person, he learns something. You go to university and you want to learn mathematics. So what happens when you learn mathematics? You have to cut off all of your other thoughts. You go and you learn mathematics, and he explains ideas that are much above you. You don't understand the ideas. But you strive to understand that all of a sudden your mind understands these ideas in mathematics. Very good. Where are these ideas in mathematics? Where are they? They're everywhere. Right? Newton, when he discovered his principles of gravity or whatever it is, where are these principles? They're up there. They're everywhere. The principles of gravity affect everything. It's a law. A law of gravity works on things of the ground, that they work on things of planets. It's a law. It's just a principle. Where is this principle found? It's found high up. It's found down, very, very down low. It's just a principle. It's not high or low. If so, why do you call it high mathematics? Right? You go and you learn whatever it is, trigonometry or calculus. Why is it called high mathematics? Because the ideas are just very distant from you. It's not easy to understand. So you have to use a high part of your personality, your mind, in order to get to it. But the principles of trigonometry, and these are everywhere. The world works on these principles. Right? That's just facts of nature. It's all there. The same thing with Hashem. Hashem is really everywhere. Hashem really creates everything. But in order for us to understand it, to comprehend it, or to be aware of it, it has to have a very high part of our soul. In fact, it has to have a part that's really above our understanding. That's why we have a kippah on our head. Why do we cover our head? To remind ourselves that really we're down here. My mind goes up to here. But my attachment to Hashem has to be above my mind. It has to be essentially because of faith. I can't really understand God. There's an obligation to understand as much as possible that you can about God. There's an obligation from the Torah. You have to know God as much as you can. You have to love God. You can't love God if you don't know Him. You have to know something. It has to be inside. But still you have to know that your connection to Hashem, what a connection to Hashem is, it's high. It's above your understanding. That's what the soul is. That's what the soul is. The soul is something which is above your understanding. One of the aspects of the soul is understanding. Right? But the essence of your soul is something above understanding. It's attached to the Creator itself. The Creator. That's what it means. That's what it means that your soul is a rope. Kamokin, similarly, who it is, Gamkin, also Benchevel and Neshama, with the rope of the soul. Sharosh Echad at one end. I'm just going back. Kashur is attached lamayla above. Lahu, and it is. See where we are, Gabriel? Last word in line is hit kashrut.
Yeah.
It is the attachment.
He's kasher. So
Hit katmut, attachment. Ot hey, the letter hey. Tatoa. Now a little bit of the Kabbalah here. Oh hey tatoa. The lower letter hey, Bahagimel otiot, and the three letters Yud, Hey, Vav.
So the soul's connected to the lower hay.
Oh, okay, right. The soul, according to what he says over here, is the lower Hey is the soul. That's what he says over here.
Is the soul.
Is the soul. Right, let's explain this. There's a lot of different meanings, what it means that man is created in God's image. One of them we just explained is 613. The soul has 613 aspects, and God has 613 commandments that He reveals through the Torah. Right? God, aspects of will. 613. But here's another one. The soul has 10 sfirot. The soul has 10 sfirot. The 10 sfirot are, you know what the 10 sfirot is? Did you ever learn this before? 10 sfirot. The 10 sfirot are, it says that the secret of faith. The 10 sfirot. What does it mean? It says in the Bible, we read in the Bible that God sometimes is kind. That God sometimes gets angry. That God is beautiful. That God speaks. That God does things. What does it mean? That God speaks to Moses. What God is, has lips, He's got a tongue. You go up and you can see a big tongue, a huge, massive teeth. Up to who? That's the teeth of God. Right? Right? The spaceman goes up and says, we're having a little trouble over here. He says, oh, you must have hit God's molars. One of the molars. Oh, God, get away there quick because you're getting mad. And what? God, but He spoke. It says in the Bible that God spoke. You must have teeth. You can't talk without teeth. Again, God said a lot of letters that depend on the letter on your teeth, on your tongue. You have to like taber arranged. It says da ber da is with the da with your tongue. So Hashem must have a tongue. He must have right. He said these letters. He said these words. How does he? So the answer to that is that no. Hashem is infinite. Hashem is infinite, but Hashem has a lot of aspects of His infiniteness, and this is the secret of faith. Why do the non-Jews make up all these other gods? They have to believe in people. They have to believe in spirits. They have to believe in it. Why? Because they think that God is far away. It's the same thing with the giving of the Torah. They don't want God that's too close. They want God that's far, far away. Keep Him far away. And there's a person in the middle, right? That says everybody, you're a bunch of worms, you're a bunch of nothings, you're a bunch of this, right? You have to believe you're going to burn in hell. Judaism says no, that God is very close to you, infinitely close. He loves you, He's creating you, He'll listen to all of your prayers, He'll listen to everything. But we don't feel this. And not only that, what does it mean God Himself will listen to our prayers? What God has ears? What is this talking about? God is infinitely higher than that. Like, right? Isn't that true? It says, yes, of course it's true. God is infinitely higher than anything you can possibly imagine. And part of that highness is that you don't put Him into a box of just being infinite. God can also be finite. You understand that? No, don't understand this. That's the greatness of God. There is the greatness of Hashem. He's totally not understandable by you. Right? You think you've got God understandable, right? Right? The God, you can't understand Him, that's all. He's infinite and says He's just above everything, and that's it. So now you got what God is, right? He's high, He's above. Yeah, sure, that's what God is. So, well, you're wrong. God is not just above. He's not limited to your definition. God also cares about people, and He provides for everybody personally, and He creates everybody personally, and He'll personally listen to your prayers. That's what God is. God creates everybody in a different image. Everyone is different. God does it. There's no accidents. Hashem does it. It says, but what? God also has aspects. God also has love. He has care. What are these things? That's God's personality. Hashem's personality is what makes Him close to us. But if you say God has a personality, then you're limiting Him. Doesn't make any sense. It says that's what the names of God are for. There's different names for Hashem. And the names for Hashem, that indicate the different aspects of Hashem. It was to tell you that these aspects of Hashem, God's kindness, God's severity, these are infinite. Don't think that means that God is a person. And just because God has a name doesn't mean that He's limited. He's not limited. This is totally not understandable, but this is faith. It's called so we have what we call the 10 sfirot, the 10 aspects of God. You look in the 3rd chapter of the Tanya, it explains it very well. What the 10 aspects of God.
In the back also there's this book. It's an excellent in English.
Right. There's also in the aspect.
in the library.
It's a separate books there. Anthropomorphic ideas of what is it called? Of Hasidus or something like that.
It's in there, very nice.
Yeah, mystical ideas, mystical concepts of Hasidus. And here it talks about what's called anthropomorphism, making God, talking about God like He's a person. And the Bible does it. Right? The hand of God, the eyes of God. Right? God listens to your prayers.
Abstract forms. I have a question, Rabbi, very technical one. It says that it's the soul, the one end of the soul is connected to the lower hay of the...
So let me explain, I didn't get to it yet.
I'm sorry.
It says one part of the soul. It says the soul is like a rope, and the rope is attached to God. Says the Rebbe, this is the letter Hey. Tatoa, the lower letter Hey, V'hagimel otot, and the 3 letters Yud Hey Vav.
Question.
Yes.
We know that Yud Kei Vav Kei corresponds to the 4 worlds of the Atzilus, Bria, Yitzhak, and Asiya. And we know that the souls of the Moshe are connected to the world of Atzilus, and the souls of the Jews are connected to the world of the Bria. So my question to you, how come is it connected to the lower Hay? Is it talking about Nefesh and Baham's soul, or is it talking about Nefesh Lakis?
No. Listen, it says that in Kabbalah there aren't any arguments. Right? The people who genuinely know Kabbalah. We're not talking about people who just make up their own ideas. In Kabbalah there are no arguments. Right? There's just different ways of looking at different things. Right? That what we say that there's Adam Rishon's soul came from Yechida, and from Chaya, and Mashiach is Yechida, and Moshe Rabbeinu is Atzilus. That's one way of doing it. Right? That's one way of dividing it up. Another way of dividing it up is like the Rebbe does over here. We're going to see. The soul is
question?
Yeah.
If God is everywhere and everywhere is God, what's the difference between like when the soul of a Jew that says has a piece of God and just everything else?
The Rebbe explains, like in the Beit HaMikdash. What was in the Beit HaMikdash? The Beit HaMikdash, there was one room where there was revelation of godliness, where it was revealed. The same thing as you have in a person. There's one part of a person that how do you say, conceives of ideas. That's your brain. The brain understands ideas, and that directs the whole rest of your body. But the ideas that it understands are everywhere. I'll give you another example, a television. You bring a television into a room, you turn on the television, what does it see? It sees television programs. Now that program was here, these television waves are here in the room, right now, all the time. But if you bring a radio in, you don't see it. If you bring a television in, it doesn't work, you don't see it. If you bring a television in, it does not plugged in, it doesn't see it. But as soon as you bring a television into the room, and you plug it into the wall, and the television works, suddenly you see a program. What are you seeing in the program? You're seeing waves, television waves, that were there all the time, right? The room is really filled right now with programs and cartoons and movies and all that. The whole room is filled with this stuff, right? But you can't see it until you bring a proper receptor. The Beit HaMikdash was such a receptor, in general. The Jewish people are a receptor. What part of the Jewish people? Their soul. The Jew has a special soul that receives what's here, it's everywhere, what's in the world, right? The fact of what there is. Right? Just if, for instance, everybody sees that Hashem, God, really loves everybody and is really close to us, and that the people will be a lot calmer in the world. The world will be a better world. But people don't see this, and the reason they don't see it is because the Jews don't see it. The reason the Jews don't see it is because they don't turn themselves on to seeing it, right? They don't read this mimer, and the people that do read the mimers, they don't turn themselves onto it. Because there's a lot of difficulties in the world. There's a lot of confusion and a lot of distractions that go on in the world. And these things can make you angry and make you forget about everything. When you're sitting in the room, you're learning the mimer, it's very great. But the world itself sometimes seems so real and so imposing and so impossible to overcome that it just makes you crazy, right? It just makes a person crazy. They had, what's his name, Freud came up, the Oedipus complex. A person has some experience, well, whether it's true or not, I don't know, but his whole idea is a person has an experience when he was young, wrecks his whole life. Wrecks his whole life. What happened? A physical thing happened when he was young, wrecks his whole life. What do you care about the physical thing? Here we have God. Well, let's say a religious person. He believes in God, he believes in this, but every time he sees an umbrella, he goes crazy. Ah! Right? Why? Why do you go crazy? Because I hate umbrellas, I hate black. Well, what he really hates was his mother called him, you're an umbrella, when he was young. When he was 3 years old, he says, you're a stupid umbrella. Right? And for that, he always goes crazy every time he says, well, what is that umbrella? Oh, it's a physical world. What do we care about? They were religious people. We believe in God. How can you get angry? How can you get depressed? Doesn't make any sense. But we do. We get depressed. We get the world is very, very real. And the world exactly, that part of our personalities that can't take it, that's what gets us. You know, that's exactly the thing that gets it. A person has a little cut, and he goes into I remember once I went into there was one of these hotels in where was it? In
Eilat.
Not Eilat. It wasn't Eilat. It was somewhere. It was near the near the Dead Sea over there, near the Dead Sea. And there was they had a pool. So I went into the pool. It was salt water. It was salt water. It was by the Red Sea. No salt water. It was very nice. But I had a cut in my hand, a little cut. So I had a cut. You're going, whoa, wow, hurts. Woo! Everybody is sitting there enjoying. This is terrible. This is awful. I gotta get out of here. Not only that, the first time I jumped in head first with my eyes open. Wow! This is awful. Right? The same thing, that's what the world does. You go, you learn Hasidus and everything, but you got a little thing in your personality, a little bit of egotism, all of a sudden the world, everybody else is, hey, this is wonderful, right? Nice world, Hasidus, great. Just sitting there, I want to get him, right? Made noise last night, I want to kill him, right? Everybody's learning, right? But mind goes around. Somebody did a little something to you, he called me a name. I'm going to get him.
He took my table.
Took my table, right? Took my tomato yesterday, and this, right? Other people could care less. No, not a tomato. Right? A cucumber, no, take it. A tomato, I'll get that. Okay. Right? That's what people are. I'm the same way. That's a good question, right? I know what I'm supposed to do, but sometimes I don't get mad so long. So I get mad for a second, but I still get mad. Right?
Some people is good.
Yeah, sure, everything's great, everything. Excuses. Hey Tato, says the Rebbe that's the attachment. Hu is cautious. This is the attachment of the letter Hey. Tato, the lower Hey, and the three letters Yud Keva. The Jewish soul is made in the form of God. So there's letter Yud, that stands for the level of Chachma, power of awareness. That's the letter Yud. The letter Hey is the power of understanding. The letter Vav, that corresponds to the letter Vav is 6 emotions. And the last letter Hey, that stands for finalization, us, our personality, who we are. That's the letter Hey.
So we're connected to Malchus.
Right, the godly soul also has these four levels. Right? It has Sefirot. It says this is the secret of faith. Why? Because through the 10 Sefirot we can understand how God is involved in the world and that God has a personality and He'll answer your prayers.
The person also has 10 Sefirot?
A personal soul has 10 Sefirot. Everything in the world has 10 Sefirot. Everything.
The stone has 10 Sefirot.
A stone has 10 Sefirot. Everything there is has to have 10 Sefirot.
So the stone has intellect?
The stone has the idea of the stone, what the idea of a stone is. Right? The Bina is the definition of a stone. Stone is a mineral. Everything in the world has to have 10
It's a
Sefirot.
projection. It goes like through
Right.
the blueprint in order to
But the only
create
place
it.
that these 10 Sefirot are really revealed in their entirety is in a human being.
Otherwise they're in the source.
Right. And we're talking about all human beings, but ideally, the purpose of the Jews is to reveal this in all human beings, in the whole entire world.
And the Torah has all 10 Sefirot in this world?
Torah is all 10 Sefirot, yes.
So it's like a human being.
Yes, that's the Torah's Adam, Zot Torah Adam. So that's the attachment of the letter Hey, which Hey is Malchut. Malchut means the finalization. Who you are, you, the final you.
Kingdom.
It attaches it to the Hey Vav. Vav is the spiritual you. Right? In the soul, for instance, it's what's called 3 levels of the soul. In the end, it's 5 levels. 3 levels of the soul. There's what's called Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama. Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama. Nefesh is the final you. That's who you are. Ruach is spiritual. Ruchaniut. That's the spiritual. That's also your emotions about God. Your emotions, how you get excited about God. That's the letter Vav of God's name. And the Neshama, that's the letter Hey and the Yud, the upper 2 letters. Understand? That's awareness of God. So what is this rope? Listening rabbis, the rope is the letter Hey, that's the finalization of who you are, being attached to the inner part of your soul, if you want to call it, the godlier, more godly part of your soul. We're talking about the godly soul. The godly soul is your emotions about God, your awareness of God. The letter Hey is just your simple actions, who you are finally. It says that's the rope. The rope is hiskashut, the attachment of the letter Hey, Tatoa, the lower Hey, because there's 2 Heys in God's name. The lower Hey, bit in. Gimel Otit, the 3 letters Yud Keva. You'll understand this when you go over it next week. The Rosh Echad, and the other end of this rope, Kashur, is attached Lamata below. What is this that attached to below? Who is Haros, the ray, the shining, Anasham of the soul, Hamitla Beshet, which is enclosed, the goof in the body, Ha'adam of man, Lahachayoso, to enliven it.
So we're talking about the animal soul?
So we're talking about the godly soul.
Enlivened?
Yes. The godly soul is what enlivens a Jew. A Jew is really enlivened from Hashem. It used to be, in the time of, if you look in the Geras HaTshuva, it used to be in the time of the Beis HaMikdash, of the Holy Temple, that what kept people alive was their godly soul. And therefore, if a person didn't keep Shabbos or whatever, he would die. He would physically actually die. It would take a certain amount of time, but he would physically die, would be cut off. Nowadays, if there's no temple and everything goes all confused, so we don't feel the godly soul, and there's not so much connection to the godly soul. So we see there's people that can do all sorts of, not keep the Torah at all, totally not, and not only do they live, but they can be the head of the great court of Israel.
You talked about Nefesh Ruach and
There's
Neshama.
people in Israel, they have the grand court of Israel, the people that don't keep Shabbos, they don't know nothing, they don't believe in God, they don't believe in anything.
You talked about Nefesh Ruach and Neshama, and this rope is connected to Nefesh Ruach and Neshama of the godly soul.
This is, so to speak, the nefesh, how the nefesh connects up to the ruach and the neshama.
It's how Nefesh connects
Nefesh.
to the Ruach and Neshama
Right.
of the godly soul.
Of the godly soul.
Okay, clear.
So, according to what he's saying over here, the soul itself, the nefesh, is the letter Hey. And you can write that on your chart also, if you want. The letter Hey also corresponds to nefesh,
Which one? The first
the
one?
lowest, lower Hey. The last letter, the malchus, that's the level of nefesh. That's nefesh. And the big one you have over there about the vav, that's ruach. Ruach. And the upper two is what we call neshama.
Makes sense. And the animal soul also has that Nefesh Ruach.
Yes, and also
We're not talking about it.
This is what it closed in the body in order to keep it alive. V'zehu, that's what it means. Yaakov, the Jacob, Yaakov, Chevel Nachal Lasoi, is the rope of God's inheritance. What does it mean? Tekam, that also. Pemetre goes on the levels. Hanamuchos, lowest levels. The lowest levels of the soul and the lowest levels of Jews. Their name is Yaakov. There's two names. Yaakov had two names. Yaakov, he fought with an angel. He was given another name. Moses' other name was called Yisrael. Right? One of the strangest stories ever told by man. Right? One of the weirdest stories there. Jacob fights the whole night. He fights with an angel. This is after he had a whole big trials with the Asa, with the, right, a whole with Asa, with Lavan, and he fought an angel, and finally he defeats the angel. The angel says, "Okay, what do you?" Says, "Okay, I'm going to give you a prize." But Yaakov could have said, "I want a prize. Give me all of Europe. Give me half of the world." An angel, who fights an angel? Who beats up an angel? It's incredible, right? You have a full contact wrestler. Could you imagine a guy fighting an angel? You get a present, the whole America present. What does he say? Your name is going to be changed. It's not going to be Yaakov anymore. It's going to be Israel. Oh, this is a prize. This is good. What type of person is this? Your name, what do you care? Call him Feingold. Call him whatever your name. What difference is that? I'll change my name myself. I want a bigger prize. The angel says, no. You're going to be called not only Yaakov, you're going to be called Yisrael. For the rest of his life, the name keeps changing back. Sometimes it's called Yaakov, sometimes it's called Yisrael. Not like Abraham. Abraham got his name changed. God changed his name. And his name from that on was Abraham. Right? Here, there's two names, Yaakov and Yisrael. Yaakov is a Jew when he's at his lowest. Yisrael is a Jew at his highest. Yaakov is a Jew when he has to fight. He has to fight terrible difficulties. He doesn't see God. He doesn't see anything. He just sees problems. Right? He wishes he wasn't alive. Worst, terrible things. That's Yaakov. Yisrael is when he's a Jew. He feels Hashem. He feels great. Stands in front of a crowd. Speaks. Everybody claps their hands. Everybody talks Kabbalah. Everybody's crying. Right? There's pictures on everybody's wall. This is Yisrael. This is great. Right? Yaakov is when a person is in the lowest. The lowest level of a Jew, willing to do anything. Just not to feel this bad feeling of take drugs, who knows what. That's the level of Yaakov. Yaakov, everybody has both levels inside of their soul. The biggest guy is Yaakov, the lowest guy is Yisrael. What's this? That's what it says, Yaakov Kaval Nasol says, even the lowest levels, that's the level of Yaakov. She'en, that they are. The Bechinas Akvayim, heels. Yaakov is from the level of heel. It says that's why he was called Yaakov, because he came out, he was holding on to the heel of Esav.
Shabevchinas, what is it?
In the level of Ikvayim, heels. Hine, behold, Al Yedei, by means of. Chevel and Neshama, there's even the lowest level of a Jew, which is called Yaakov. Even the lowest level of a Jew is called Yaakov. The Yaakov is like the Akev.
Chevel is
heel. Hine, by means of this rope, the Neshama of the soul. Hari, behold, who, behold, he is. Kashurim, attached. ba'atzmos, in the essence of Hashem. The lowest level, by means of this rope, you're attached to the essence of God. And that's also the whole idea of prayer. One prayer, the lowest person, the lowest guy in the world, he's in some sort of a bar in Amsterdam or whatever it is, this lowest, terrible, most meaningless, disgusting place in the world. But he's a Jew, right? Who knows what he just finished doing, what he wants to do, what's all around him. One prayer, Hashem, help me, shoots him right out.
Instant call.
All of a sudden he's at the highest, turns on his soul, he's attached to the essence of God. Whether he knows what to do with his attachment is different. Right? It could be he'll just have to say, get me out of here, runs away.
Rocket man.
Right? Just gets out. It doesn't, help me. And if you'll know what he does when he is away, it's there. But he can attach himself in one shot, right, to the essence of Hashem. That's the level of this rope, which God willing we'll talk about more on, no, there won't be a class on Sunday. On Monday.